Somaliland is home to ancient civilization in Africa. All existing records show that it has been hub for trade for so many years. The LAASGEEL caves and their artistic content, for example, display prehistoric paintings of humans and animals, mostly dogs, cows and giraffes. Many coastal towns have ruined cities thousands of years old which had links with ancient Egypt and northern Ethiopia. For 3 days, a group of volunteers have trekked between LAASGEEL and one of the most ancient towns of Somaliland, BULLAHAAR, thousands of years old ruined city which is widely believed to be one of the earliest trading points in Africa. In this year's walk tour, the team enjoyed the beauty of the countryside, although they saw less wild animals than expected. The most frequent species being Dero the antelope, grazing peacefully along with sheep and goats. But also, they occasionally saw bakele, that is rabbit, sakaro, silver dik-dik and owl, the African gazelle. The last one seen only after Farur area and just before arriving at BULLAHAAR. Before the team left LAASGEEL, while checking on the rock in danger in early morning and from distance, a nice encounter with a pair of GAL-XIDDIGAALE and one Gernuk made their day. On their way to the Bihagog, they met Din, a giant tortoise sitting peacefully and motionlessly in the bush. At some point early in the morning near BULLAHAAR, an innocent young fox accompanied them along the road, running and sometimes coming so close to the team. Also, during the inaugural walk, the team, mainly in the water sources area, they could hear many different inspirational bird songs. The distance between the two towns is 78 kilometers. The group, led by Dr. Chama Musa Chama, a scholar from Somaliland, intend to raise an alarm over the challenges the caves and other important heritage sites are facing because of uncontrolled tourism and environmental degradation. They intend to organize an annual walk between the two towns in a bid to create awareness and promote tourism in Somaliland.
This town needs an emergency response. This is an existing civilization which we are proud of. The whole world needs to come together in preserving this ancient historical heritage. This reunited town that you see was a popular trading hub 2,000 years ago. What remains now is part of the town. The rest of it has been reunited. It is time now for the whole world to come together and preserve this historical living testimony of one of the earliest civilizations in Africa.
This ancient history, dating back to over thousands of years ago, is in danger. Ahmed Awale, who is a historian and a lecturer at Hargeysa University, believes that the heritage of these two known earliest civilizations is something that the world must know.
We were a team composed of foreigners and Somalilanders. The aim of the trip is to, first of all, publicize the history and the the heritage, the environment of the country. We all know that LAASGEEL is a very historic place. It dates back to over 7,000 BC, that's to say around 9,000 years. And equally, BULLAHAAR, the coastal town of BULLAHAAR, which we can see in its ruins, is very, very historic too. It dates back to thousands of years. The recorded history takes back to over 2,000 years ago and above. There has been actually some archaeological excavations carried out in here, which shows the importance, how important this was as a coastal trading post, like Berbera, like Seila. Yeah. So mainly we were thinking about connecting the two historical sites, and at the same time by walking between these two towns to learn more about the communities there, the landscape, the environment. Really, we learned a lot from that. Our trip is to highlight the historical, the archaeological importance and the beauty of the country to the Somalilanders and to the Somalis all in all, and as well as to the international community.
Archaeologists who have been here in the past have found out that the ruined city of Bullahar might be over thousands of years old. The district commissioner of this ancient town was born and brought up here. He recalls days when the now ruined city was once a beautiful place where he called home.
runtii taariikh badan baan anigu laftaydu halkan ku soo maray ilaa macaamadii ilaa iskuulkii.
I studied kindergarten in this town. My relationship with this town dates back to 1960s. I remember at a time the town was desert, but everything was intact. The buildings were very strong, and every house had utensils and other household items in it. I left for Australia where the civil war erupted, but I have never been at peace. This town is one of the most beautiful places in the world. I have not seen my children who live in Australia for the last 2 years. I have now devoted all my time into preserving Somaliland's heritage and also encouraging people to own, document and preserve their history.
The volunteers who trekked for 3 days are determined to preserve the remaining heritage of Somaliland. Almost all of them recall over the 3 days they have been walking that they have fallen in love with Somaliland's countryside.
A great pleasure to be part of the first yearly walk of GAL-XIDDIGAALE. And it has been a very interesting and teaching experience. I mean, the places that we have been, the places that we have passed through, the change in topography, the vegetation, and the people that we met, and all the experiences, something that I'm sure everyone who get the chance to experience is gonna love. And it was I'm very happy to be part of this journey. For me, the journey, the walk, this is what people do. Maybe for us who are coming from the city, it seems something luxurious and you do something as a fun maybe. But this is what people do. The places we have been, as I said, it's very far from each point. That means those people who are living in that area has to travel to get access to whatever sort of service they need this long. So, as I said, it gave me a lot of thinking. As a person coming from the city, it gave me the view of the countryside, how people are so nice, cooperative and resilient to walk and to do these all things. But as I said, for as pastoralists, people living in there, this is their daily life. So one, it's a healthy thing. Second, is learning your country, the places. So I think everybody should try to do these things, especially for historical places from LAASGEEL in Bullahar. It's something they will remember most of the time. So yeah.
I've been coming to Somaliland in various capacities since 2005. It's been a real privilege to be on this inaugural walk, not just for the sheer pleasure of walking through the countryside and seeing a side of Somaliland that I'm not so familiar with, but also to see Somaliland through another lens besides the perception I usually have, which is observing an election, working on media analysis, coming to a Hargeysa book fair. All of this a very urban experience around networks of power and so forth, which is all, of course, amazing. But this shows me a side of Somaliland which I just haven't seen before, challenges my expectations, and I feel lucky to be part of something that both in its own small way can challenge the expectations of others of what they can expect in Somaliland, but also because of what this walk represents. You see the way the walk starts at a very important Somaliland heritage site, LAASGEEL, but it's bookmarked at the other end by the site we see around us, Bullahar, which is an equally important heritage site in another way, but is falling apart before our very eyes. Now, if this walk and the tradition that is hopefully established from it can go some way towards raising awareness of Somaliland's heritage issues and what needs to be done to both preserve them and build upon them, both metaphorically and literally.
It's quite daunting standing in a place like this, Bullahar, with all the history that it's got, and thinking of something appropriate to say, even more so when we're talking about a walk that started in LAASGEEL and finished in Bullahar. It's really hard to escape the sense of history that we're talking about, and the walk was fantastic. It's also hard to sort of talk about how exciting it was when we're just feeling sort of sore from 3 days of hard walking, because it was hard walking, but it was a really, really enjoyable process. And one of the things that I really hope happens is that this kind of activity, this walk, opens people's eyes, makes them aware that there is so much more to Somaliland than the little bit that sometimes makes it into the media. It's not just a little country that's typified by Hargeisa. Hargeisa is actually quite different from the rest of the country. And this chance to walk, and the wonderful thing about walking is that you see so much in such a different way from what you see from the window of a car. It means you meet people and you see the landscape changing. And when I say meet people, one of the undoubted highlight of this is the chance to spend time with people in villages or pastoralists as we walk through the countryside. And in every case, they were so hospitable. People would always bring us tea and bring us freshly milked milk, and they would, kill a goat for us and bring the meat for dinner. So the experience wasn't just walking through the countryside. It was engaging with people, with Somalilanders on an everyday level that there is no way someone like me has the chance to do in the normal course of events. And that's in spite of having been here many times and having had the good fortune to visit a lot of towns and villages in Somaliland. It's very rare that one gets the chance to actually walk through that countryside. And it is really a beautiful country. So that combination of people, countryside, and history that is really typified by this walk is really impressive, and I think it's something that I hope a lot more people are able to share and see for themselves, and I hope that it also contributes to efforts to preserve the history and the culture that is there, that is so important a part of Somaliland.
Many ancient world civilizations have left their mark on this area, a connection facilitated by the region's strategic location connecting the Arab world, Africa and Asia through the Red Sea coast, the Indian Ocean and the hinterland routes to North Africa and the Swahili coast. More than 100 sites of historical importance have been identified in Somaliland, including cave paintings, centuries-old cities and ports, as well as ancient cemeteries. Scholar Dr. Jama Musa Jama wants this civilization to be documented. He wants the future generation to know their past history.
By ummaddu ogaanaysa ummaddu haddii aanay lahayn waxa la yiraahdo ahaanshaha identity waxa af Ingiriisi lagu yiraahdo haddaanay lahaysanin.
When people don't own their identity, they will never understand where they came from and where they are heading. It's important for us to document and preserve our identity. We all have that responsibility. It seems like we have been forced to hate our origins and true identity.
Many in Somaliland are completely unaware of the existence and significance of archaeological heritage before they were discovered. One of them was Musa Abdi Chama, but not anymore. He was also part of the group that walked through Somaliland's countryside. Musa now preserves every bit of rock and other materials he finds.
It is very important to carry out research and document this heritage. I have now taken it upon myself to collect and preserve any rock and paints that I see at LAASGEEL. I don't know their importance until when I met Dr. Jama Musa Jama, who has really contributed immersively in the preservation and documentation of Somaliland history. These days, whenever I find anything that looks important, I give to Musa and his team.
Somaliland is in need of help and infrastructure to safeguard its ancient heritage. Infrastructure along towns in the countryside are poor. Scholar Chama Musa Chama is now urging the government to invest in building schools, hospitals, and providing other basic needs.
aniga lug yar baan wax ka noqday si uu ii yimaado cidiida weynaysay waqti dheer bay qaadatay marka waxaan uga
The third thing that I encountered while walking between these two towns is the poor state of infrastructure. I got a small injury while I was walking, and it took me a very long time to get the medication that I required. It is said that over 400 households cannot access an ambulance, or more than 300 school-going children who are not in school.
Coming to this ancient town and trekking for 3 days in the countryside validates one thing. Somali heritage should be researched, preserved and protected in order to develop the quality of life of the people. The 2020 walk was the first, but Dr. Chama Musa Chama and all the team intend to walk every year in order to help Somalis possess a rich cultural heritage and prehistory which has suffered great neglect.
This could be a yearly ritual for me as long as I can do, and I hope many others will join us.
Every year you will not miss me from the walk.
I would urge Somaliland and Somalilanders and people outside of Somaliland who are interested to take note of what is here and what needs to be preserved and promoted.
This walk has been a huge privilege to be on the inaugural walk, which I hope turns into an annual event, and to meet some of the people that we met along the way, and to again see some of the things, some of the aspects of Somaliland that we don't see.
The oldest of the group, Ahmed Awale, a 65-year-old lecturer at Hargeisa University, promises to use the remaining time of his life to help document the heritage, belonging, and the identity of the Somali people.